time once again to discuss things.
Let's go ahead and get into this. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is the one, the only, the backseat of Steve's.
Hello.
Hey Steve, how's it going?
Hey, it's going.
That's good, that's good. I'm sure everyone else is doing well. We are continuing our character discussion videos today, and Steve, who are we talking about?
Today we are talking about the Amazonian princess herself, Wonder Woman.
Indeed. So I really like Wonder Woman. She is one of my top DC characters. As far as the heroes go, it's probably Batman, Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner specifically, and then, Wonder Woman. I think she's up there for me. I really like Wonder Woman. She's one of those interesting characters, and what's weird about Wonder Woman is there's about a million different versions of her. And I kind of compare her to DC, like she's DC's version of Spider-Man, where literally anytime someone writes her, they change her origin. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We've gotten to that point, so I don't know.
Wonder Woman has had almost had more origins than Donna Troy at this point.
I know, right?
Almost, and that used to be a feat.
I know. It's true. It's craziness. So I don't know, where would you rank Wonder Woman on characters you like from DC?
From DC? Just from DC? Okay, so just from DC, top 5. When it comes to just superhero characters in general, top 10, probably number 7 or number 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like Wonder Woman. I didn't used to. I used to find her stories really, like solo stories particularly, really boring, and I thought her interactions with the Justice League were more interesting. But after I started getting into the whole reading multiple runs as opposed to singular stories of characters, I started to really fall in love with her. Particularly when you learn about her relationship to Donna Troy, because I used to read a lot of Titans. I think Wonder Woman becomes more endearing when you make her like a literal big sister, and all of the more feminist themes become far more pronounced in that context when she literally has to teach another young girl how her power is not a way for other people to oppress her.
Interesting. And I don't know a ton about Donna Troy.
No one does.
Yeah. So, I've not read her. We've talked about this a million times on these episodes. I don't read Titans because I'm just, it's not my interest. But you are really pulling me, man. You keep saying all these things like, this happened in Titans and it was really good. I'm like, that does sound really good.
Teen Titans is one of those weird things where, for a lot of people, I think it's their gateway into comics, and I think it does that beautifully because it's a perfect way to get multiple different story types from one series. But more than that, Titans has a really cool way of cycling through its characters so that each pocket of the universe is fleshed out rather than given lip service, which is the problem I have with Young Justice, comic and TV show. If you don't get Batman, you can read a solid arc featuring Robin in Teen Titans and get Batman. If you don't get Wonder Woman, you can read a solid arc featuring Donna Troy and get Wonder Woman.
Okay. So, for me, the thing I find really interesting about Wonder Woman is she is a character created so specifically to fill the role that she does. She is created to be the important DC female character. And so much of the messaging and stuff behind her is just brilliant because of that. I'll read people saying stuff like, I don't really consider Wonder Woman a feminist. She seems more of an egalitarian or whatever. I'm like, no, you're just an idiot. She was created for a feminist agenda. She exists for a feminist agenda. Like there's no way around it. If you don't like feminism, you don't like Wonder Woman. I'm sorry, that's just the case it is. And if you like Wonder Woman,
as a feminist, you're not writing Wonder Woman.
Yeah. And if you like Wonder Woman but you don't like feminism, I got news for you. You actually like some of the ideas of feminism. Maybe not all of them, but you've been poisoned, my friend.
Well, to be fair, because I think when you link that political identity to a character so hard, it is important to caveat that feminism is a way of doing political philosophy. It doesn't have tenets. It's just a really catch-all thing for when people talk about the relationships between gender, sex, men, and women.
Yeah, it's like ethics.
There are millions of feminist ideas out there that hate each other.
Yeah, it's more like a branch, like ethics, as opposed to a school of thought.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a core feminist tenet.
True. So, and that's kind of why Wonder Woman's been kind of over the place over the years for like highlighting different things, and then of course there's the guys that are writing her, and it's usually men that are writing her and don't know what they're doing with the character, and have like internalized some patriarchal views and stuff, even if they don't think they have. Like Denny O'Neil. Yeah, Denny O'Neil is, reasonably speaking, a pretty progressive guy. He has some reasonably progressive views for someone from his time and of his age group. And he was a guy who was like, oh yeah, I could write a Wonder Woman run. I've got something interesting to say and do with the character. And like when you look at the intention of what he tried to do in his Wonder Woman run, yeah, I see what you're trying to do, but you really screwed up and did something completely counter to what the character is supposed to stand for. And that happens all the time with Wonder Woman, unfortunately. Like, being the secretary of the Justice Society for some reason, even though she was the most powerful character in the room.
Consistently, because that team had a really big roster.
Yeah. So there's just like a lot of weirdness with Wonder Woman, I think.
Yeah. Is there a particular run or story that got you into Wonder Woman comics, or did you just always like the idea of the character?
It really was. I liked the idea of the character, so I just started reading Wonder Woman comics.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I went online, looked at forums, and, found people asking the same question that I was, what are good Wonder Woman runs to read? And so I read Gail Simone's, at least bits and pieces of it. I don't know if I ever finished the whole run, because it had trouble being collected, but, so I read Gail Simone's. That's also
a really mixed bag of a run, so I understand.
Yeah, I read Gail Simone's run, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. It's if nothing else, really fun and like just a good, strongly written superhero story kind of thing. And then I also really liked. I'll defend Azzarello's run for being very true to Wonder Woman as a character, if nothing else. Like, he changes the whole world, the whole universe, and that maybe contradicts, or not maybe, it definitely contradicts things about the reasons why she was created the way she was, but for the story he's telling and where he takes the character, I think is definitely okay.
We need to sit down and do a review of Azzarello's run together, because I read it again recently, because I initially only read it in issues as it was coming out and didn't like it, and then I read it again all as one big story a few months back, and I will give you that, like, it's a competently told narrative. And all of my issues with it just rests on principles of who Wonder Woman should be written as that I don't agree with.
Okay, now see, this is something I find really interesting, because for me, it all comes down to two very, very key, very important scenes in Azzarello's run. The first is when Apollo takes away Hera's divinity, and Hera comes to Wonder Woman completely broken, completely dejected, after having, tormented her in the way in which Hera was known to do in mythology. Tormented Wonder Woman by turning all of her sisters into snakes and turning her mother into a statue of clay. She comes to Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman opens her door to her and protects her. Which is the most Wonder Woman thing you could have her do. And then the second one is very important because it's bridged throughout the entire run, because they did a 0 issue back in the New 52. They did a whole 0 month issue. And in the 0 issue, you see that Wonder Woman as a girl was trained by Ares. and Ares gave her a mission to go into the labyrinth and slay the Minotaur, and she gets into the labyrinth, she finds the Minotaur, she defeats the Minotaur, but refuses to murder it because she is merciful, and she will not murder something that is clearly looking for mercy, and that destroys her relationship with Ares, which, like, creates the villainy. But then by the time you get to the end, near the end of the New 52 Azzarello run, there's a Minotaur that the villains are using to fight for them. He's a henchman, and Wonder Woman's alone with it, and the Minotaur recognizes her because it's the same one she spared. And so her mercy is what enables her to save the day at the very end. And so those two scenes are very, very important scenes. The like, large parts of the run build up to them, and those are some of the most Wonder Woman kind of things I feel you could do with the character.
And I don't disagree with that. It's just, again, the framework that his run relies on, like, her being a daughter of Zeus is something I've never liked, and I never really will.
Okay.
Even when the way Morrison does it, I think Morrison does it the best way you possibly could. But I still don't like it.
Yeah, where she's daughter of Hercules. I don't know, like, the Zeus thing, I really don't mind, particularly in the context of Wonder Woman's, or of the New 52 run, because it's what everything on the story hinges on. And, again, I just saw New 52 as an alternate universe, Elseworlds, so...
At this point, you kind of have to.
Yeah, so it didn't really bother me that much. I am a little bugged that it's kind of permeated the character, and now we can't quite decide if that's her new origin forever or not.
I think Wonder Woman is in a nice, precarious time zone right now, as opposed to some other characters. Because you and I mention this all the time. We're like, something that we don't like happens, but it's happened, or it's been the status quo now for so long that you can't deny that it's an era for the character, like Jason Todd coming back, or Spider-Man not being married anymore. I think Wonder Woman's in a ripe enough zone where if we decided tomorrow that we don't want the daughter of Zeus thing to be a thing, it's not too late, and it doesn't have to be an era defining of that character. And so I'm still really adamant about trying not to justify it.
That's fair. What's bugged the crap out of me is Rucka came back for Rebirth, and he does this whole fucking thing to contradict the fuck out of the New 52 and bring her back to her, standard origin. That's what the Truth and the Lies arc is all about, is just bringing her back to the Made of Clay thing. And then James Robinson takes over the book, and his whole run so far, but his whole first arc is about how she has a brother named Jason that is also a son of Zeus and of Hippolyta. And they're having conversations. Just in the most recent issue, they're talking about how they both heal fast. And Jason goes, "Is it a gift from our father Zeus?" And I'm just like, what was the point of bringing Rucka in if you're just doing this now?
Rucka being announced as coming back for Wonder Woman was one of the best things anyone heard with Rebirth, and it simultaneously became one of the most underwhelming.
Yeah, because I liked his run, but it wasn't, knock you out of the park or anything.
Well, and it really clearly came back. His coming back was very clearly a moment of, like, one, they really want me to come back, and two, I think this character should be a particular way, and I'll come back just to make that statement. Mm-hmm. Which is fine to do, because, Morrison does that every now and then. A lot of larger name writers at this point will come back and do that. Brubaker does that a lot. But given that Wonder Woman's continuity and personhood and origins have been under so much strife lately, he didn't add what I think people wanted, which was clarity. Mm-hmm. Which
you think if you call a story The Lies and show that the origin from the New 52 was a lie would be clear enough, but no.
No.
It's still pretty muddy.
No, it's kind of dumb. It's literally called Truth and Lies, and I still don't really know which ones are which.
Yeah, and the thing that bothers the crap out of me from his whole arc is not only is the New 52 run a lie, literally any other origin she has ever had since or before, or since or after, is also a lie based on the tenets of that story. And that's weird. That's really, really weird.
Yeah. And to back up a little bit, just because we're talking about Wonder Woman as a character in general, do you want to maybe get into, especially for people that don't know a lot about her and why this is a point of contention, of what the whole daughter of Zeus thing is about and why I have a problem with it and everything?
No, sure. So, like, originally Wonder Woman's origin is that she was crafted from clay and given life by all the gods. And that's, like, very intentionally put that way because she was supposed to be a birth of a woman without man. She was, like... This is a really, really particularly Greek thing that Marston was intending to circumvent. Because the way that, like, the thought process around human breeding, to sound as analytic as possible about it, worked for the Greeks was men had babies in them and they could put them wherever. So, like, you can find stories where, like, you know, guys spill their seed, like, in a river and it creates nymphs and stuff like that. So that is the whole idea of how, you know, the way Greeks thought of it is women are just the vessels. They don't do anything to provide life. So the men are the important part of the life bringing. That's the way Greeks thought about it. And in some ways that attitude has permeated our culture, though I feel like the swing has gone far enough to give women the credit they deserve for childbirth.
Yeah. And I mean, the cool thing about Wonder Woman was she was crafted by a woman without the help of men, and then the particular origin where it's just
just
Athena?
The female gods.
Is it just Athena that gives her life in the
It's all over the place. It's all over the place. Sometimes it's only the female gods, sometimes the male gods too.
Yeah, I don't
sometimes it's just Zeus.
Essentially, the whole point of it, though, is Wonder Woman is a character that exists outside of a male-woman dynamic in which a man has to be there for her creation, and so she's completely woman in that way. And she's raised by nothing but women, and so her context is literally what would happen if there... It's literally the most pure female perspective you could possibly have, which I think is important, but... more than that is the kinds of ways she interacts with the Amazons and who they are as people independent of the gods, particularly male gods, gets really tainted when Zeus comes down and is the person that's her father. And there are deeper issues with this when it just comes to like female representation and female myth making, because for lack of a better word, Wonder Woman's designed as a mythic character before anything else, kind of like Superman, but even more than Superman, where her story reads kind of like Peter David's Aquaman Atlantis Chronicles, where it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it's not very clear, but it's supposed to read almost as if it's this ancient folklore story about an all-powerful woman that you just happen to meet in real life. And I like that a lot because there isn't really a real-world female equivalent to that in the same way there isn't a real African equivalent to Wakanda. And it's like the power of that myth is really important, but then also more than that, the way the Amazons interact with the human world and the gods is particularly important because they're not defined by the gods' purpose. They literally exist because they decided they had enough of the gods' bullshit and decided to leave. And this is another...
I'd never heard it as the gods' bullshit. I'd always heard it as man's world.
That too. I mean, depending on what you read, they didn't like the way Zeus was running things, or they didn't like the way humanity was bickering. But in general, they just had enough with people's bullshit and decided to leave. And this is
which always sounds appealing,
that comes with the Wonder Woman movie, which is really antithetical to Wonder Woman as a character, because the Amazons in that movie literally only exist to do Zeus's bidding long after he's dead.
Yeah,
which is
and I
the
don't
least
like that.
feminist thing you could possibly do with them.
Yeah, and this will be a good transition to talk a little bit about, you know, you and I are obviously harder on the movie, and without even getting into Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, I feel like the movie does... I've talked about this, and I've still only seen the movie proper one time, and I've said this from the moment I left the theater. I feel like it's the Batman 89 of Wonder Woman movies. I mean, you certainly look at it and go, yep, this is a movie with Wonder Woman in it. There's the Themyscira, there's Steve Trevor, there's Lasso of Truth. You know, that's all there. But there's a lot of, like, it gets it, but it gets it from outside. I'm waiting for the Wonder Woman movie made by someone who grew up loving Wonder Woman. Is a kind of thing. I'm waiting for the Wonder Woman movie with someone who gets the ideas behind Wonder Woman and doesn't just encounter them for the first time with Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, there is a feminist message in the Wonder Woman movie. It's not super complicated or anything. It's there, though. But, a Wonder Woman movie that I want needs to be the most radical, the most just in-your-face feminist message and ideology expressed with superheroes, because superheroes aren't meant to be subtle. And I could really go for, a proper, hating on man's world, pointing out patriarchy every chance she gets, style Wonder Woman movie. I could go for that. And that's definitely not what it is, so I won't say anything I won't tell people that like the Wonder Woman movie that it's not a Wonder Woman movie, that, you're not a true Wonder Woman fan. No, there's definitely enough there that you get a sense of the character, but I don't think you even understand the full extent of the character.
Well, and I think part of the problem also is that movie's starting to define Wonder Woman discourse for a lot of people, and I don't like the way it's doing that, particularly when word dropped of a sequel, and people were saying that they should petition to make Wonder Woman bi. And the same thing came up when we found out about a Marvel young adult novel where Loki was going to be queer. And when those two headlines came out, my reaction was the same for both of them, which is, if you know who either of these characters are, these questions and problems don't make sense. Wonder Woman, under no definition of sexuality, should be straight.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense. Loki, under no definition of sexuality, should be straight. It doesn't make any sense. If she grew up entirely alone on an island filled with nothing but women, her sexuality, defined by that social construct, is not straight.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a matter of making her bi. It should be a matter of just showing that she is bi or just full-on lesbian, either way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like the relationship with Steve Trevor is too important not to have her be bi.
Which is fine, but, her relationship to Steve Trevor should not be seen as a heteronormative relationship, which is what that movie is doing, and I really hate that.
See, I don't feel like it does. She has a whole conversation with Steve where she talks about sex, and she's like, men aren't really necessary. Or men don't really do anything but provide the seed. So I'm like, yeah, no, I feel like there's enough justification to say that she is bi from the first movie.
And that's fair. It's just with the way people are talking about that movie and saying that she should be made bi in this universe, that doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I agree, and I do feel like that's just a stupid conversation. The only argument I could ever listen to about Wonder Woman not being attracted to women is she grew up on an island of women and everyone treated her like a little sister or like a daughter. That is about the only... So she never saw anything sexually attractive about another woman. That is the only way I could see that, and that is stretching so damn hard.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of stuff with that character that, because comics are great, but they're also really stupid, and that's okay. But, anytime you, start thinking about just how any of these things about Wonder Woman would work, there are much more interesting extremes to take her in that other people either don't see or don't want to address are there, like the Wonder Woman movie. Because, the sexuality thing is the one big one. The feminist thing is the other thing, but, also just more interesting stuff about, Wonder Woman literally binds you with truth and the whole bondage thing and, the really explicit way of, demystifying sex with that race and with those early comics, I feel like is really sorely lacking in modern Wonder Woman. I don't feel like we've done that properly since the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, it's annoying that we don't get into more because, all right, so American society is very Puritan-based, just factually. A country founded by Puritans, so we all got sticks up our asses, and we don't talk about sex very often. Wonder Woman comes from a culture that's derived from Greekness, even if it is a very wildly different culture that hated the way men talked about sexuality and everything. No, I'm sorry, Greeks would walk around naked. Like, the idea of the toga, that's for, like, the modest people. Greeks would just walk around naked all the time. It was just what you did. Like, the statues would be naked, and then they'd put robes on them because, like, clothing was a status symbol. It wasn't, like, you know, the necessity that we think of it now. You know, sexuality would just be a thing that people did. Like, Caligula would be at a wedding and take someone's new bride into a closet, have sex with her, come back out, and tell everyone what it was like. And by our standards, that seemed shocking. By Caligula's standards, or Roman standards, it was like, yeah, it was kind of a dick move to sleep with the bride on her wedding night. The talking about the quality of the sex would not even enter into any of the problematic lingo.
Well, I mean, that's another fun thing. Where, like, when in Age of Ultron, when Tony said if he lifted Thor's hammer, he'd bring back Prima Nocta, and, like, people lost their shit if they knew what that meant.
And I feel like that was Tony Stark just being a smart ass, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you worried? I'm going to bring back Prima Nocta? Yeah. So what else with Wonder Woman is worth talking about? Let's talk about the Lasso of Truth.
I love the Lasso of Truth. It's such a cool weapon. It is one of my favorite, like, sci-fi weapons at this point.
Yeah, I love the way it's used and how often the big reveal of the story will be Wonder Woman will make someone reveal that they're lying to themselves. Mm-hmm. That is just that is damn good, you know?
Yeah, just the whole idea of being bound by truth is a really cool idea, but then also just the deeper sort of, like, submission to the truth idea, and the way Wonder Woman, like, very actively, you can kill someone with a lasso, and that's fine, but it's almost like Captain America's shield, where, like, the purpose of it is not necessarily one that is easy to kill people with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, Captain America's shield's kind of a bad example because Marvel has to play fast and loose with whether or not the edges will literally cut off your fingers, but that's okay.
Yeah, I like the symbolism of the Lasso of Truth, and also it's just a really, really cool idea, and it's always a cool visual that people take a lot of advantage of. You know, I love when it's all, like, sweeping around and the glowiness. I like glowy things, Steve. Can we do an entire Geeky Gentleman just about glowy things?
Yes. We'll get some pigeons. It'll be great.
Oh, man. Glowy things are cool. So the glowy lasso, the mysticness of it, and it does lead to some what I feel are pretty good moments of comedy. Like, You don't care for Justice League, but I really do like that scene with Aquaman on the lasso. I thought that was pretty funny.
See, that's the thing. It's not that I don't like those scenes. It's that in the context of that movie, I have no idea who the fuck Aquaman is as a person, so that kind of character break to spew the truth means nothing to me.
Okay, fair enough. I laughed. I thought it was funny. That was great. They did basically the exact same joke in the animated 2009 movie, though it wasn't quite as humorous. It was more like Steve's just really pouring his heart out. And, like,
Steve's also really rapey in that movie, so
yeah, it's a little all over the place. But, like, that moment was pretty funny. What else is a good use of the Lasso of Truth? I like when she put it on Lex Luthor and gets Lex Luthor to admit that he's just jealous of Superman. Oh, that was satisfying.
Was it in Brian K. Vaughan's Wonder Woman Batman story where she got Batman to hold on to the lasso and, like, confess how afraid and sad he always is and stuff like that?
I don't know. The only time I'm aware of with Batman and the lasso was the Rucka run recently when she and Superman and Batman first met, and she has them both hold the lasso and asks them their names, and Superman goes, Clark or Kal-El, and Batman goes, Batman. It's just...
That was fantastic.
It's the best. They both look at him. It's great. Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. I think it's Brian K. Vaughan's run, because he wrote some sporadic Batman issues here and there, and he wrote one with Wonder Woman, and I think that's the one where, like, Bruce needs, like, very clearly needs to talk about stuff, and he won't, so, like, Wonder Woman just has him hold on to a lasso, and he starts pouring his heart out to her, and it's really sweet and touching.
Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna have to read that.
Yeah, I think the trade's called Shit, I lost the name. Never mind. It's just a Batman Wonder Woman trade. I don't know.
Okay. All right. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
Okay, we want to go ahead and go on to recommendations, or you got anything else you want to talk about with Wonder Woman?
No, I'm good to go on to recommendations.
Okay.
Earth One, I think, is my favorite Wonder Woman origin, even though it does the Zeus thing.
Yeah, I quite like that too. God, Yannick Paquette's art is amazing in that.
Can't fucking wait for Volume 2. I'm so excited.
It boggles my fucking mind to hear people talk about that book, because like when Volume 2 got announced, people were like, oh, the worst thing Grant Morrison's ever written, with this like fetishizing Wonder Woman again. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no, that people are
learn
crazy. That
subtext. Yeah, learn subtext, you bastards. Yeah, for me, that's really good. The 2009 movie's hit and miss in a number of different ways. I like parts of it.
That 2009 movie is a really good microcosm for people, where if you like things about that movie and not others, it's very indicative of Gail Simone's whole run. And if you love that movie, you'll probably love her run.
Yeah. And then I also really recommend The Legend of Wonder Woman, which is a 12-issue miniseries.
The digital first thing?
Yeah, and unfortunately I don't think it ever got picked up for its Volume 2, but that was a good series. I quite liked that. And then Margaret Bennett's Bombshells, she writes a really, really strong Wonder Woman in that too. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's good. Rucka's original Wonder Woman run I like quite a bit. The classic George Perez run is really, really good. And then I'm going to go ahead and say read the Brian Azzarello run, just because I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, it definitely gets Wonder Woman herself, if nothing else. So then it's just so sharply written, so it's a fun read.
There's what's his name? There's a Wonder Woman run before Gail Simone in the mid 2000s by Alan something. That's pretty decent. I really like early 2000s DC. I actually think they do some legitimately good stuff in that era, but I don't remember who the writer is there.
Okay. Also, just as a one-off, I really, really liked the fight with Superman in, what was that? or right before Infinite Crisis or whatever. In the OMAC project. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah.
The fight with Superman where she kills Maxwell Lord. God, that is so cool.
There is some heartbreaking shit there, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, and just Wonder Woman beats the shit out of Superman. Like, we both like Batman versus Superman fights, as much as the next guy, but Batman's always got to be clever, and he's got to think of a way to outwit Superman and whatever. Wonder Woman just fucking tanks his ass. It's awesome.
No, it's great. I love Wonder Woman just kicking the ever-loving crap out of most DC characters. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, Steve, who are we talking about next time?
Next time, we are talking about a character from a fictional property that you and I have both consumed in some way, shape, or form that we have not previously talked about before. I should really think of these things ahead of time. James Bond. Let's talk about James Bond.
Okay, sounds good. Everyone, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Exile.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.